But what we hope is that, and what we generally know is that a lot of the things we're going to talk about will be pretty universal to e-commerce best practices. So they apply across, a lot of different marketplaces and things like that. So is this my clicker here? Yep. Okay, great. So just real quick, show of hands, just so I can kind of gauge my content here. How many people use eBay? Okay, great. All right, thanks, guys. So again, it's pretty much focused on kind of selling, merchandising, and some marketplace trends. I'll do a little Q&A at the end, and then we also have a booth here for any follow-up that you guys might want to come talk to us about. So basically, just some velocity statistics here first. Just a couple of really, and this really isn't a brag. The point here is to show that a lot of commerce is moving online. A part or accessory sells every second on eBay Motors. A motorcycle sold every 6 minutes, car every 2 minutes. And I remember a few years ago, or several years ago, when I started eBay, and the vehicles, selling vehicles online was a fairly new industry. A lot of people said it can't be done. People are tire kickers. They want to open the hood and things like that. But you can see people are doing it, and more it's happening. So there is an immense opportunity. And as you guys know, every time I come to conferences like this, e-commerce is very much a hot topic. So hopefully we can share some insights, help you guys see greater success, in your e-commerce efforts. 14 million monthly unique visitors on average. So again, really incredible traffic. eBay Motors is the world's largest parts and accessories marketplace. So it's a little bit of a microcosm for the entire industry in a lot of ways. Just some comparisons with total traffic. And then the other thing about eBay specifically being such a broad marketplace is that people stay for a long time. Average user sessions around 45 minutes. We have people coming to the site, doing a lot of research, buying, wish listing, shopping, that sort of stuff, window shopping. Obviously very transactional when you see that a part or accessory sells every second. Also, one of the real big focuses for us in eBay Motors recently over the last several years has been get more involved in the racing performance industry. So these are just a couple examples of cars we put out there and how we're getting involved and being involved with PRI and trade shows like this. So just want to emphasize. And one of the things that we've noticed is that really good racing performance inventory is a little bit underrepresented on the site. So again, kind of a call to action for the people that, the merchants that have that inventory. We're seeing a lot of great demand there. So a lot of encouragement to get into the marketplace. And then again, we're trying to touch the industry, doing a lot of things, marketing for you, in addition to, putting logos on cars to drive traffic. We buy a lot of keywords from Google, a lot of industry spends and things like that to really make sure that the traffic comes to you to make it very turnkey for you to be a merchant on eBay. So a little bit about some of the landscape and in e-commerce these days. So traditionally, it was very separate worlds. You had offline brick and mortar shopping, and then you had e-commerce, and they were traditionally very separate things. But what we're seeing now is very much a blurring of that line. What we find is that they're kind of intermingled in a lot of ways. People are spending a lot of time researching. They're using the internet to go, even when they go purchase at a brick and mortar, they're using the internet to do the research, to understand the products, to find the best prices, to know what they're looking for and things like that. So this is kind of in a nutshell, what's happening with this trend is the industries or the markets are merging. So kind of 4 key pillars to that in e-commerce right now. Mobile is a very big thing. Obviously local, people are looking at opportunities and ways to buy online, pick up locally, different things like that. Digital media, of course, is much more important, and then social. Obviously a hot buzz topic, and people trying to promote their stores, promote their e-commerce presences. We'll talk a little bit more about these, but these are kind of the sort of 4 main pillars of what's shaping the industry. So just to talk a little bit about it. So mobile, first of all, the numbers that we've seen have been pretty staggering. We invested pretty early in good mobile apps and figured it was going to be an important part of the future, but I don't think we even anticipated how important a piece this was. In fact, our vice president of our mobile division anticipates that around 2015, so coming up here pretty quickly, there will be a tipping point where more people will be accessing the internet on mobile devices, be it tablets, phones, things like that, as opposed to laptops and desktop PCs. So the numbers are pretty staggering, you know, and it's transactional. This isn't just people browsing. People are really enjoying the convenience of wherever you're at, whenever you feel like it or have a minute, being able to go online, buy products, research products, and do all the things that you'd normally do. More and more large B2Cs are stepping up. You know, again, kind of when I started with eBay about 8 years ago, in a lot of ways the internet was kind of taboo for the industry. It was manufacturers in a lot of ways and retailers didn't feel like they could control their pricing as well. We're showing that is not necessarily true and really trying to help get manufacturers, get brands involved in the site, and more are realizing this is a great way to access the consumer base, expose your brand, and drive product sales ultimately. And then global growth. Obviously, that's one of the easy next steps in e-commerce is that it allows you to access the entire world in the global market. And that's one of the strengths of eBay. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But, and of course, like point of sale, the different payment systems, of course, with PayPal and that sort of thing. And then in-store pickup convenience. Again, we're seeing a lot more cases where people are coming in with like our Milo acquisition, eBay Now, where people buy online, want to pick it up either same day or immediately thereafter in a brick and mortar store. So again, kind of the blurring of those two worlds and the merging of the two sort of separate aspects of it. So to put it in perspective, basically looking at yesterday, 2008, in the past, commerce was, basically e-commerce, or excuse me, total commerce was about $325 billion in the US. Only about 4% was online. And then today, currently, it's about 6% online, with another 37% of that being web influence shopping. Again, where people are using the internet to, research products, to understand what they're looking for, to choose colors, to shop with family members. The holiday season e-commerce is very big with people's wish lists and things like that. And then really, again, I mean, the vision is that in the future, this is all going to be blended. It really won't be one or the other. People will be using the internet, mobile phones, tablets, on the go at all times to kind of figure out what they want, where they're at. Local targeted, again, with like GPS and stuff like that. You can basically put in something you're looking for, the phone knows where you're at, and it can point you to it immediately. You can either buy it there, go into the brick and mortar. And that's basically the vision of where we see it in a $10 trillion total industry around 2013. So we did some research, and basically 3 out of 4 consumers say they're more likely to use the web versus 2 years ago. So 75% more people are using the web for this sort of influence purchasing. So, I mean, we have the statistics. We know that this is the trend, and we're seeing more and more proven usage of the internet to influence their purchases. And so this is a little study here where we asked them what are the different venues and avenues you use to research your purchases. And of course you can see about 90% of them are using the internet one way or another to influence their purchases. So again, it's a pretty compelling statistic that people are more and more using the internet to buy these sorts of things. So that's just some of the landscape stuff. Now we'll get kind of a little more into the nuts and bolts of selling on eBay, which I think is a little more applicable for everyone. But I think it's important to note that, I mean, with this trend, e-commerce is not going away. It's going to become part of the way business is done, really in all aspects of doing business in the coming years. So key elements of an eBay listing, and I'll try and keep this fairly high level and really not get too down in the weeds with the key elements. But just a general best practice, there are a few sort of things that are really important to having a good eBay listing or e-commerce listing. I mean, the key things that people need. Pictures are big. Good quality pictures drive purchases. In fact, in a lot of cases, we've seen a 40% increase in sell-through rate for people that are using images versus those that aren't. So really recommend that. And there are some product sectors and catalog types where there's a little bit of a void there, but that's improving as e-commerce grows. And I definitely recommend that would be one of the most critical elements of creating e-commerce products. On eBay, the title is very critical for one of the main reasons that the eBay site and finding is pretty much keyword driven. Most people keyword search. And that kind of comes from the history of eBay where, I mean, that was really all there was. Now we have item specifics and seller tags, so it's easier for people to browse down now and filter out things and sort of narrow down to the products they want through more of a browse functionality. But the majority of them will be using title search at some point. What we found is probably upwards of 80% keyword search. And some of them will narrow their category a little bit, but ultimately it's a keyword search. So we allow you 80 characters to put into your listing title to basically target all the keywords that a user might use to find your products. And then descriptions. Of course, good quality product descriptions do a couple of things. One, they help sell the part. If they give the information the consumer is looking for, they're much more likely to purchase. The other thing is it avoids negative buying experiences. Again, it gives them the quality information they need. Ideally, it preemptively answers questions about the product so that you don't get a lot of, again, one of the scalability factors with e-commerce is not having to do a lot of this sort of traditional stuff of picking up the phone, even answering emails ideally. I mean, if we're saying, we're as optimized as we can be for e-commerce, the listing itself does most everything you need to do. And the description's part of that. Answers the questions that people have, gives all the product specs, those sorts of things. And then compatibility, I'll show that, but essentially it's the year, make, model, the fitment for the different products that exist. And I realize that in the extreme racing performance industry, that doesn't always apply with the traditional ACES information, year, make, model, engine, trim. That is what we have built right now, so that works for all your street performance stuff. And obviously, as we try to become more involved in this industry and better serve the racing performance industry with e-commerce solutions, we're figuring out better ways to do that, to do compatibility for it. But again, a very important thing, it avoids issues with your buyers, it answers questions quickly, and it can drive transactional. In fact, people that we see using our compatibility for obviously the street performance and and aftermarket replacement stuff, we see 20, 30% upticks in sell-through rates because it just gives them the assurance they need to know this is the part they're looking for. And then categorization, obviously on the eBay side is good for the people that browse. It's not absolutely critical because, as I said, more people keyword search. And then I would just say, one other thing that I have people ask me about a lot is pricing. And does the internet price need to be rock bottom? Does it need to be almost a wholesale price? And it's definitely not the truth. I mean, there are some products that get commoditized, and when you can see everybody side by side, and some people get into low price, that may happen. But for the most part, want to dispel that myth. People are willing to pay a good, fair price for a quality product. But price it fairly. I mean, obviously, this is one of the things where, essentially assuming, like if somebody were shopping for tires, they're walking into a mall that has 5 tire stores right next to each other, or 100. I'm talking about a search results page with a bunch of listings. So, it's competitive. So, my advice on that front to kind of dispel that question would be price competitively, give a good aggressive price, to compel the consumer, but don't get into the price wars. Keep it realistic and preserve your margins. And then this is showing a little bit of how our compatibility looks. Again, this is more for street performance, ACES formatted, but it's been a really good driver for us of quality, of customer satisfaction, of transactional increase. Because again, people can put in, I drive an 01 Toyota Camry, LX or whatever it is, and this system will confirm. So whenever possible, definitely put in compatibility. It drives sales, it reduces concerns and issues in your eBay listings, and obviously outside of, if you're doing e-commerce transactional stuff. And then, like I said, with the racing performance stuff, you guys know better how to express that, but obviously it's a critical thing with people finding the things they're looking for. information. So talking a little bit about eBay stores. Cool thing about eBay stores is this is essentially your branded web page on eBay. Not all marketplaces allow you this sort of model of branding. I mean, it very much looks like your own website on eBay. And again, when you think about the fact that there's over 14 million monthly unique visitors trolling through the site, doing research, shopping, those sorts of things, I mean, an unparalleled marketing opportunity here. I think the basic costs for the eBay store are $15 a month. So the exposure you get by being able to put this brand page on the site, drive traffic to it, have people be able to sift through all your listings, be exposed to your brand. I mean, you can even do cool things in eBay stores such as like promotional boxes, things you put on sale, something that's maybe ending soon, new hot products. So it's really a cool function. Again, not something that exists in most marketplaces, this level of freedom and creative license for you to basically express yourself and expose your brand. Down the left, you see the categories. They've done some custom design here with those graphics basically linking directly into category. And then, like I said, they can do like promotion boxes, or you can just search among their eBay store. And once they're in the store, they use that search box. It's still limited to strictly their products. So this is a great way. If you can drive traffic into your store, it definitely increases sales, gives you a great branding opportunity, and really one of the strengths of, I think, the eBay marketplace as a value proposition. So basically, you know, we've given you some of the best practices, and what I usually like to do is just kind of bring it down to earth and talk to people about, you know, if you're kind of getting into this now or you're thinking about it, what are some of the key things you probably want to do as far as a business plan just to try and do it. So I'm not going to tell you how to write your business plan, but what I will say is the most important thing is to really kind of dedicate personnel to this entity. Because again, we've got traffic, we've got volume. If you're putting good quality listings out there, you're going to drive sales volume. You need to be able to support that, otherwise you end up you know, overselling orders, and if you can't fulfill them, your reputation goes down, and then you haven't done yourself any favors. So definitely recommend committing at least one person to overseeing the project. And obviously that's for people that are sort of starting up and being sort of top to bottom accountable. The cases where I've seen less success are the people where, hey, Joe, you know, go over here, give this a try. You know, let's see if you can get some products up on eBay, and it's just not a real full-blown commitment. That's okay if you're just doing onesie-twosie stuff, but if you want to have a branded presence on the internet, particularly on a marketplace, you definitely need to have somebody kind of overseeing all the elements of it, tying it back into your systems. And it doesn't hurt to really just write it out, in whether it's a flow chart, an assignment matrix, you know, an organizational chart, whatever it takes. You know, and then just you know, make sure you know who's answering the emails and potentially phone calls if you take them every day. You know, how often a day are they going to do that? Who's checking that all the orders are going into your shipping systems? So it may seem redundant, but you'd be surprised. You know, a lot of people try to do this as sort of a spin-off of their current business. And again, just to reiterate, it definitely helps to have somebody sort of dedicated to the project and sort of take point on it and be accountable for it. So we talked a little bit about, you know, reputation. I'd kind of mentioned that. So, you know, traditionally everybody's probably familiar with the feedback system on eBay. For most of history, it was positive, negative, neutral feedback. It was either good, bad, or okay. But we added in this right section here with the detailed seller ratings, the 4 categories where you get up to 5 stars. And essentially, this was done for a couple of reasons. One is, as a company, we want to understand how buyers were feeling about the transactions, but also as a merchant, we realized that you needed better granularity into why the buyer was or wasn't happy with the transaction. So in the cases, I mean, in the past, it was you got a negative if the transaction wasn't good, and you had to kind of try and figure out from what you communicated with the person. So with these, you know, if you get maybe a 3 or a 4 star on one transaction in one of these particular categories, then you have a sense where you need to focus your efforts and really fine-tune. You can see sort of categorized what you're doing well at and maybe what you're not doing as well at. So these are really an improvement. And they provide an opportunity for sellers to really understand how their customers are feeling about the e-commerce transaction with them, and adjust accordingly. And again, I mean, these are very critical to the success of the marketplace. Obviously, this is one of basically the backbones of the marketplace, because on eBay and other marketplaces, we're all sharing customers. And unfortunately, if somebody isn't really taking it seriously and they're not delivering on expectations for buyers, they're driving buyers off the site. And that's a potential buyer that every other merchant on the site has lost. So this is really one of the reasons why feedback and customer satisfaction is extremely critical in marketplace. And consumers actually really like that. This is one of the reasons why people enjoy coming to marketplaces like eBay, because they know there's an expectation to compete and to really sort of exceed customer base expectations. Big name retailer had a website. We bought something from them a little while ago. I mean, it was 2-3 weeks until it was delivered. And it wasn't the end of the world, but what I will say is that's not necessarily the best buying experience, and I don't know that I'd rush back there to buy something. Whereas on marketplaces, I mean, there will be expectations, and if you take 2-3 weeks to deliver something, it's going to affect your ratings. So, I mean, this is sort of this collaborative group mentality of everybody sort of competing and just really focusing on giving a quality buying transaction. So I can't really put enough emphasis on that. And to sort of put the icing on the cake, obviously there is the eBay top-rated seller badge that we give to the best of the best. And this is really almost exclusively based on customer satisfaction. It really doesn't have a whole lot to do with sales volume. Traditionally, several years ago, it was Power Seller, was kind of a similar type of thing, and that was really mostly based on sales volume, which is great, but again, when you realize that customer satisfaction and growing the buyer base is the key to everybody that wants to be a merchant on a marketplace's success, this badge became most important. So now it's not a matter of if you as a merchant can come in here and sell $10 million, $50 million worth of product a year, and reap benefits that way. For us, we would much rather reward sellers when they give a great buying experience, even if you're doing small volume. So there are a lot of cool things attached to this. You get lifted a bit in the search results placement. There are also discounts on your final value fees for the people that sell that achieve this status. And then really what we've found is, similar to some of the other things, is that buyers are drawn to this. And really, people that have this badge generally convert about 60% better than those that don't. And it's pretty high standards, but it's not in it by any means unachievable. Again, it kind of ties back to that business plan of saying, all right, here's what we want to execute on. Here are the key elements we need to do that. And we're very clear about what the expectations are in this. We've got a lot of help pages on the site where you can go look it up, understand what we expect, the things we're asking our merchants to do to get this badge, and just manage to those, and it'll definitely pay returns. So we talked a little bit about global, but that's one of the great things to think about with an e-commerce marketplace, specifically eBay, is really by checking a box, you can expose your products to whatever other countries you want, for the most part, globally. Obviously, big global consumers of racing performance and auto parts in the US are Australia, UK, Germany, I mean, a lot of Europe. Italy's pretty big too. Australia is really big right now, and they're doing a lot as a nation to grease the tracks for imports to come in for these auto parts, because they don't have a lot of opportunity to get them. It drives commerce. The country makes money off tariffs and stuff like that, and it's good for the nation. So you see this a lot more. Again, just kind of reiterating, it's not as easy as just checking a box. So just, you'll want to make sure you understand what it takes to ship to different countries. I mean, even Canada, there's some quirky things with customs and getting things across borders. And it's really not that hard to do. Most of the accounts I work with do it, but I just want to be clear that it's a very easy way to get into it with a little bit of effort to kind of make sure your logistics are in place on the back end. You can very quickly and easily access global markets. And that's a great opportunity. So, so that's generally kind of wrapping up, some of those best practices. And now I'm just going to kind of go through a few of the different tools that you can use. Because obviously, if you just go into your eBay account and you go to list an item, it's a pretty lengthy process. Write out the title, write out your price, fill it all out one by one. Not very scalable for merchants and businesses and people that might have deep inventory and those sorts of things. So eBay certified providers are third-party companies that we don't own, we just work with, and they go through a very rigorous certification process. Then basically commit to, so one of the things we have in e-commerce is there's nothing more constant than change, and that's absolutely true in marketplaces. Things are changing all the time. So these companies that are certified providers have basically certified themselves to say, yes, we'll keep up with all your changes, we'll make sure we stay quickly abreast of these and adapt to whatever differences are in the marketplace. So these are just a few. If you want to look at more, you can just type in eBay certified provider into your Google browser, go search it, it'll pull you to a help page. And there's a few that are motor specific, and those are denoted on the help page we have. Happy to answer any questions there as well. But again, I think these are better ways for you as merchants, to bring a larger scale operation to the site, to be able to take inventory, potentially, a catalog, feed it into one master file and sell on the site rather than having to do onesie-twosie stuff. Won't really go too much into them other than just to say channel velocity is kind of a little more unique model. They're not your typical selling tool there. And this is just an example of what's out there, but channel velocity is a company that basically does more of a virtual fulfillment model for you. Obviously, the cost is a little bit higher, but what they'll essentially do for their model is you can just, it's similar to like, I guess I would probably compare it to maybe like a fulfillment by Amazon or something like that, where you can just send them the product. They'll take care of all the listing, selling, shipping, and that stuff for you. They're going to take some higher points, but just to kind of clarify that there's all levels of tools out there that you can use. Some basically just create a listing. Other ones allow you to create a listing, manage it, pull out orders, hook into your ERP or SAP systems or whatever you have. So there's all levels of tools just depending on what you need. And again, we're here for the whole show at the eBay booth. We can answer more specific questions on that. But just to be aware. And then this is a third-party tool, really the only one that we allow access to all of the historical data on the eBay marketplace. So they can scrape everything that is a completed transaction on the site. Actually, you can too. You just go into an advanced search. You have to check a box and say, show me completed listings. But difference is if you do it through the site, it's going to pull you a batch of, depending on what range you're looking for and what product you're looking for, potentially hundreds or thousands of listings, whereas this software can aggregate it for you. And the reason this is helpful is you can look at historical trends on the site. And if you're wondering about certain products that you have, how would they sell? Is there demand for them? What's the right price point? This is a great tool for this. And again, it's not a sales pitch. Sometimes I feel like I'm kind of trying to sell these tools. Definitely not the case. I think the subscription price on this is like $35 a month. There's no contract or anything, but it's really the only tool that allows you marketplace research to go see historically and factually everything that happened on the site, plug your products in, understand what the potential is for certain products and what the demand level is maybe for product types and lines. You can really slice it and dice it hundreds of different ways. So a good, powerful tool for people that want to understand the marketplace better, to optimize your success for what people are looking for and what's happening historically. Omniture is a traffic reporting tool that we include with your eBay store subscriptions. So again, as all part of this suite of bringing buyers and sellers together, what we do with this tool is it's basically synced into your store. So you can go in, you can look at what keywords people typed in to get to some of your products or your eBay store. You can look at the pathing they took. Where did they click from? Where did they click to? What search engines? Because obviously your eBay listings, again, I said we do a lot to present you on the broader internet, and that's two different ways. One is we buy keywords. a lot of keywords. We're generally one of Google's biggest customers to drive traffic for the merchants and for people to find the products they need. But then we also do a lot of SEO behind your listings, behind your eBay stores to help you be naturally appearing in search. And so this is a great tool to be able to look at where those people came from, what they were looking for, that sort of thing. Again, I believe this is free with your eBay store subscription. So just another powerful tool to help you understand, and as you go into this marketplace, if you don't know it, these are tools that can help you learn where your specialty is and what your successful points are going to be. File Exchange so basically there's our certified providers, which are third-party tools, and then there are eBay tools, which we make and create to enable commerce and allow people to come into the site and to sell on the site and all those sorts of things. File Exchange is a really cool one because, again, as I was talking about, for a lot of you guys looking at this from a merchant level, it needs to be scalable. The onesie-twosie stuff doesn't work, and that's exactly what File Exchange does for you. This is a free tool that eBay creates and allows you to basically put all your inventory into a spreadsheet, upload it to the site, and you've got as many listings as your data and that spreadsheet will support. So again, just really some cool stuff and some different ways that you can approach this as opposed to sort of the traditional go into your eBay account. And for merchants and people that want to do a little larger scale operation, this type stuff is absolutely critical. But it's free, and again, part of sort of our mantra of just really enabling commerce and bringing buyers and sellers together. That's basically our core goal. Selling Manager Pro is another eBay tool. Different versions of it come with your store subscriptions. I think if you don't have a store subscription, I think it's maybe $15 or $20 a month, but this ties right into your My eBay account. And this is much more of whereas File Exchange sort of on the surface is a listing tool. I mean, there are things you can do with it with that spreadsheet. You can actually automate feedback, pull out orders, all those sorts of things. But Selling Manager Pro is much more of a total listing management and site management tool. So it goes right into your My eBay account, and it basically just gives you new options within the My eBay section, basically your dashboard, your console on the site, where you can go perform a lot of different functions. And some of the cool ones are like automation, your automation of your emails back and forth with your buyers when they buy, automation of feedback, essentially. So again, just removing a lot of this simple tactical stuff so you guys don't have to spend the manual time on it and can spend your time as a merchant, thinking about the strategic things, the product lines, getting your orgs in place, delivering, good fulfillment, things like that, delivering on customer expectations and that sort of thing. So again, another eBay tool that's free, I think, with your premium store subscription. And so that is about it. I saved a little bit of extra time to answer some questions. Just general caveat, let's try and avoid the kind of one-off account-specific questions, as those can tend to get us in the weeds. But yeah, happy to take some questions. This gentleman here?
I have a question. Can you integrate the listings on eBay directly into our website so that the orders come directly to our website? We process the payments through our normal payment system. They agree to our terms of sale at checkout per the credit card company requirements and all that.
So yeah, the question was, can eBay be integrated into my website? And I think you were saying your back-end systems, right? So yes, it absolutely can. There are a lot of different tools. Some people write custom connectors. There are other tools out there that you can purchase that'll connect the software and feed the orders right in. Even some of our eBay stuff, depending on which system you're using, can automatically be fed into there. I mean, generally things will be under the eBay guidelines, but in most cases you can specify your own payment and and return policies and those sorts of things consistent with how you do business. So yes, and there absolutely are ways, and I definitely recommend that as opposed to, again, if you're trying to do a large-scale operation, pulling out a spreadsheet and trying to do it manually. So great question. There are connectors out there. I'm happy to talk to you about a few if you'd like, or make some recommendations for you. It's a little bit specific to what you're running in your back end. I mean, that definitely changes what's available, but absolutely there are solutions like that.
I also wanted to ask you, whereas we do all our own shipping calculations, and especially LTL. For example, engine blocks, crate engines, and things of that nature, where we have our own actual LTL calculator, and it can drive other systems just crazy.
Yeah, so I don't know if you can connect that specifically in. Usually what you can do is, even with freight, I believe you can put in the dimensional information, you know, weight, height, length, you know, depth, weight, all that sort of stuff. I know with the general stuff outside of freight, you can absolutely do that, and it'll calculate it. Our systems, and that's generally what we recommend. I mean, if you're not doing free shipping, you should probably do calculated, just so the consumer knows they're getting, you know, what the rate is. And yeah, so it basically, again, aside from freight, you just put in all the dimensions and then which service you use, and eBay systems will calculate it and actually show that to the buyer on a calculated basis.
Getting at as far as the actual integration with our website, where it sends the order to us and then they do the checkout on our website.
Well, the checkout needs to be done on eBay. So, I mean, again, that's sort of part of the marketplace, but absolutely, once they've purchased from you, there's ways to feed it out, and there's definitely if you've got all that database information for your products, there's ways to feed that in programmatically so that it will calculate it, and then you can pull them out once the transaction's complete on our site. Yes, sir?
Is there a minimum of items you put on your page then in that case then, or you can put things you want or things you will fit on there, or what?
Sure, good question. The question was, is there a minimum, or I'll just kind of address that as a minimum or a max, and really there's not on the site. Some people, like me personally, I'm not a real big seller, I'm much more of a buyer. But yeah, I mean, I might list 1 or 2 items a year. So no, there's no minimum, there's no maximum, and in fact, I think it's a good point to note that generally, I mean, I get questions often about what's the fee structure. Most of the cost of doing business on eBay is back end once you sell. So what we've done is we've set up a fee structure so that it's very inexpensive to list, most cases less than a quarter to list an item, and then you're only charged when it sells. So, yes? Sure, not at all.
When they say I was selling the store then, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then, now do I would add keywords to it? And then I remember you saying something about you have a back end actually add additional keywords, or what is that?
Yeah, so a couple of things happen there. Question was, if I were to open an eBay store, do I add keywords? Does eBay add keywords for me? That sort of thing. And so both. The answer is actually both. Once you open the store, we do a lot of meta tagging behind that store for you. The more you list products in it, the better sort of the automated intuition of the site gets at putting keywords behind your store, behind your categories, behind the different pages, custom pages in your store. And then we also give you sections where you can go in and do the same. So if there's things you're really trying to optimize for and maybe our automation isn't as smart as you'd like it to be, there's definitely places you can go in there. And really things, I won't go back to it, but even things such as in the store header, you saw that Jeg store, I think they had a little description up there. Putting specific keywords in there actually is crawled by Google. So there's a lot of different things that you can do to sort of drive your own meta tagging and keywords in addition to what we do naturally and automatically for you. Yes, sir?
Can you give a little more detail on, let's use an example, we say we've got an existing e-commerce store that's got 10,000 SKUs on it.
Mm-hmm.
100,000. You're trying to walk through how to get that onto an eBay store. I'm going to have to download that onto an Excel spreadsheet, modify it somehow, and then upload it to you.
Yeah, that would be the file exchange model, is you'd pull it out into a spreadsheet. It would basically, the tool file exchange would tell you, sorry, I'll recap the question because they had asked me to do that. The question was, so if I have an existing e-commerce site, how do I get sort of all these items and listings out of that store and into eBay? And file exchange, as I showed you, is one solution that's free. It's just a matter of if you can pull out and batch up from your site into a spreadsheet, which most can. If you want more simplified solutions, I mean, there are providers that can do that for you. In fact, I mean, even one of our free tools, Turbo Lister, can pull them out and you can get that information, or companies, I believe, like Channel Advisor can go in there and they'll do some management of both, tying it in, some of the more specialized stuff where you actually won't have to commit as much resources. So it's a little bit of a balance whether you kind of want to use your own resources and save some money or spend a little more and have someone do it for you. Yes, sir, over here.
I have a question just on generally. So if you've got preferred customers that have preferred rates,
Mm-hmm.
you have some kind of membership where they say you sell to Walmart 10,000 units and they have a preferred price because they buy from you all the time.
Yeah, so we don't really have that formal functionality on an eBay store, just because we don't generally treat it as a wholesale site. I will tell you this, if you want to come chat with me at the booth, we are developing a B2B, sort of more wholesale-driven marketplace that's really kind of separate from the traditional eBay marketplace. There are ways that you can do it. It's a little more ad hoc. I mean, you'd have to be able to recognize the user, and then you can discount their total purchase after they buy from you. So there are solutions to that. We're just not really built for it to sort of automatically sense and offer discounts in most cases. Yes, sir.
I've got a quick question about the file exchange program or third-party program.
Yeah.
We have all of our, if we were to export all of our products, part numbers, everything, can you also bring over the images of the products through that? Or would you
Yes. Yeah, so the question was, in that same process of like taking my current listings maybe on my e-commerce site and moving them into eBay, do the images come across? Is there a special way to do that? Very good question, because I did put a pretty strong emphasis on pictures. So usually what you can do is you'll probably have those hosted somewhere on your site. And for the listing, say for file exchange, there's basically one column that says image URL. You just tell us where it's listed. Once you list that item once, it actually gets housed on the eBay servers, mainly for the purpose of us just being able to guarantee response times on the site, right? And then you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about the URL. That's mainly for your gallery photo. I'll take that one step further, and if you want to, say, embed multiple pictures in your description and stuff, you would just use the image source code, like HTML code, essentially, in your description. And as long as that's sourced, we allow you pretty good free license to expose that sort of content. Guys, I think we have time for maybe one more question, if there is one. All right. Am I missing someone? Yeah, sorry.
I was just going to ask,
Yeah.
when you upload that picture, does it automatically size it down and create a thumbnail for you, or do you need to upload something separately for that?
The question was, when you upload the picture, does it size properly to the eBay site and do that sort of thing? Yes, it does, generally. So I don't know how much upsizing it does, but if you have a massive picture, it'll downsize it. It'll thumbnail it, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I mean, it basically automatically does that stuff and sizes it to the gallery. Just an FYI, in sort of conjunction with very common industry trends right now, we're raising some of the expectations for pictures, higher pixels, better quality, that sort of thing. Obviously, in the auto parts industry, now this is a greater eBay initiative, in the auto parts industry, that doesn't always exist from the manufacturer, so we understand that, just to be aware. I think it's important to address that because there's two pieces here. One is, that's obviously a very important piece, driving e-commerce. And then two, just so you understand, I mean, we as a marketplace get that, maybe 1,000 by 1,500 megapixel images aren't always available for auto parts at this point. And in fact, we're not the only industry that's the issue. So we're working through that as well. But just keep that in mind that high quality is definitely sort of where this is all going. Yeah.
More quick question.
Sure.
Our images on our site have our watermark embedded in so that if they can put on another site, it's recognized. Is that something that has to be removed before it can be uploaded to you?
No, whereas other marketplaces do not allow that, eBay does. Now, in the past, people have done a whole lot of marketing on your images, like 50% off, lowest price on this. We're asking not to have that sort of stuff anymore. But a simple watermark for attribution and copywriting, this is my image, this is my intellectual property, we absolutely do allow that. Well, hey, thanks everybody for coming. Like I said, we're here at the show, booth number 4352. We've got a full staff here. If you have any questions, we're here all week. Thanks for coming out.